Why you're always hungry, the hormone science behind cravings. You just ate an hour ago, a full meal, and somehow you're hungry again. Or maybe you told yourself you'd stop after one biscuit and before you knew it, the whole pack was gone. You blamed your willpower. You told yourself you were weak. Here's the truth. It was never about willpower. Your hunger, your cravings, your inability to stop eating certain foods, these are driven by powerful hormones and neurochemical signals that are working against you. And today, we're going to expose exactly how that system works and why modern food has learned to hijack it completely. Meet the hunger hormones. Your body regulates hunger through a sophisticated hormonal system. Two hormones sit at the center of it, ghrelin and leptin, and they work in opposition to each other. Ghrelin is your hunger hormone. It is produced mainly in the stomach and rises sharply before meals, signaling to your hypothalamus, the hunger control center in your brain, that it is time to eat. When you see food, smell food, or even just think about food, ghrelin spikes. It is powerful, fast-acting, and very hard to ignore. Leptin is your satiety hormone, the one that tells your brain you have had enough. It is produced by fat cells and signals to the hypothalamus in proportion to how much body fat you're carrying. In a perfectly functioning system, more fat means more leptin, which means less hunger. It sounds like a self-correcting system, and it is until it breaks. Leptin resistance, why your brain stops listening. Here is where things go wrong for millions of people, and it explains why hunger can feel completely disconnected from how much you have actually eaten. People who are overweight or eat a diet high in processed food and sugar, leptin levels are actually very high because they have more fat cells producing it. Logically, they should feel less hungry, but the opposite happens. The problem is leptin resistance. When the hypothalamus is constantly bombarded with high leptin signals, much like a room filled with constant noise, it stops responding. Leptin receptors become desensitized. The brain essentially goes deaf to the signal. What causes leptin resistance? Chronic inflammation in the hypothalamus, driven by processed food, excess fructose, and saturated fat, physically impairs leptin signaling pathways. Elevated triglycerides in the blood also block leptin from crossing the blood-brain barrier entirely. The tragic result: your brain thinks you are starving, even when your body has more than enough stored energy. So it keeps driving hunger. It slows your metabolism. And it makes you crave the most calorie-dense foods it can find. Insulin, dopamine, and the craving loop. Now let's talk about cravings specifically, because hunger and cravings are not the same thing. When you eat sugar or refined carbohydrates, your blood glucose spikes rapidly. Your pancreas releases insulin to bring it back down. But with large sugar loads, insulin overshoots, dropping blood glucose below baseline in what is called reactive hypoglycemia. Your brain detects this drop as an emergency and immediately screams for more sugar. This is the crash and craving cycle millions of people experience every single day, and it is entirely biochemical. There is another layer, dopamine. Highly palatable foods, those engineered with precise combinations of sugar, fat, and salt, trigger a dopamine release in the brain's reward center, the nucleus accumbens, the same pathway activated by addictive substances. With repeated exposure, the brain does what it always does with excess dopamine stimulation. It downregulates dopamine receptors. Now you need more of the food to get the same pleasure response. This is tolerance. This is why one biscuit genuinely does not feel like enough. The food industry understands this at a molecular level. Their products are quite literally engineered to exploit it. Ghrelin, sleep, and stress. Two lifestyle factors dramatically worsen this hormonal chaos, and most people never connect them to their hunger. Sleep deprivation is one of the most powerful hunger disruptors we know of. After just one night of poor sleep, studies show ghrelin levels rise by up to 28% and leptin levels fall significantly. Your brain simultaneously increases appetite and reduces satiety signals, the worst possible combination. And it specifically increases cravings for high-calorie, high-carbohydrate foods, because a tired brain prioritizes fast energy above everything else. Chronic stress activates the HPA axis and floods your body with cortisol. Cortisol directly stimulates ghrelin release and drives cravings for energy-dense comfort foods, an evolutionary response designed for short-term survival. But under chronic stress, cortisol stays elevated, and so does the drive to eat. Stress eating is not emotional weakness. It is cortisol doing exactly what it was designed to do, in a context it was never designed for, to work with your hormones. So what actually helps? Protein at every meal is the single most effective hunger management tool. It suppresses ghrelin more effectively than carbohydrates or fat and keeps it suppressed longer. Fiber slows glucose absorption and prevents the insulin spike and crash cycle. Prioritizing sleep protects your leptin and ghrelin balance, and reducing ultra-processed food gradually restores dopamine receptor sensitivity, meaning whole foods start to feel satisfying again. The next time you feel out of control around food, I want you to remember this video. You are not weak. You are not lacking discipline. You are a human being with ancient hormonal systems being targeted by industries that have spent billions of dollars learning exactly how to override them. Understanding the biochemistry is the first step to taking back control. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Drop your questions below, and I will see you in the next one.